All right, let's talk about the problem types. It's only 4 problem types. Find the volume given, the base and height. Okay. Find the volume given, the radius and the height. Find the volume given, the diameter and the height. Okay. Solve for and calculate the value of the unknown. I suppose there's another one. You could find the volume given, the circumference and the height. Okay, but those last two, find the diameter and height and circumference and height, those basically boil down to find the radius, and then you're back to the second version. Okay, there's only 3 answer types in terms of pi. Leave pi symbolic. Okay, like 25 pi meters cubed. Okay, exact. 25 pi meters cubed, well, we're going to take that pi, which for us is mostly 3.14. Pi is actually much longer than that, but we approximate it as 3.14. Multiply 25 by 3.14, it becomes 78.5. Now, here's a little self-check. Pi is about 3. In your mind, multiply that 25 by 3. That's 75, and know it's a little bit under the actual value. And that's 78.5. Yeah, it's a little bit bigger than 3 times 25. So a little self-check there. Okay. Rounded to the nearest whole number, 78.5 meters cubed becomes 79. That 0.5 rounds up. And so when you take that 78 becomes 79. Okay. What if it said round off to the nearest tenth? Nearest tenth, well, 0.5 is in the 10th place, and we would leave it that way. Okay. Okay, so let's do an example. Find the volume given the base and the height in terms of pi. The area of the base is 25 pi feet squared. Okay. The height is 10 feet. What's the volume in terms of pi? Well, we have our base, we have our height, and we have a formula. Volume equals base times height. So let's plug them in. 25 feet squared is the base, 10 feet is the height. Multiply them together, 250 pi feet squared. All right. Wait a minute. What if they ask for a decimal answer? Well, we still have, I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to make the height 14.1 feet. I couldn't just do the same thing over and over again. Okay, so volume is still base times height. Let's go 25 pi feet squared times 14.1 feet. Multiply that out. This time, we're going to change pi to 3.14. And we're going to multiply everything by 3.14. So we end up with 1,106.85 feet cubed. Now that's the exact decimal answer. What if it says round to the nearest tenth? Well, 0.8 is in the tenths place. The one before, the digit before it is 5, so we would round up. So 1,106.8.5 rounds up to 1,106.9 feet cubed. Well, 4. Area of the base is not given. Okay, the radius of the base is 4 feet, and the height is 8 feet. What's the volume in terms of pi? All right. Or the exact volume. Okay, so let's review real quick. This is a circle. Okay, it has a circumference, which is the distance all the way around. It has a diameter, which is the distance across. And it has a radius, which is this distance from the center out to one edge. Now that's actually the definition of a circle. The circle is the set of points that are all equidistant from some center point. So the radius is the same no matter which way you draw it. From that point to the top is one radius, to the from the center to the bottom is one radius. From the center, let's say over to, let's say 9 o'clock over here is one radius, or even 10 o'clock, it's one radius. Now, the diameter is the distance all the way across. We start at one point on the circle, we go to the center, well, that's one radius. Go from the center out to the other side, that's one radius. All the way around, that's a circumference. And they're all related to that radius, as we might suspect. Okay. So, if you're given the radius, you use the area formula for a circle to find that base. If not, you'd have to find that radius, either given the diameter. Let's say you're given the diameter. We know the radius is 1/2 the diameter. So if the diameter is 10 feet, the radius is 5. If the diameter is 20 meters, the radius is 10 meters, and so on and so forth. And there's a similar formula for the circumference. Okay, so let's combine these. Volume equals base times height, and we know that that base is pi r squared. So we plugged in pi r squared for the base. We know the radius is 4 feet, the height is 8 feet. There's our formula again. Let's plug those numbers in. Pi times 4 squared times h. Now, I'm going to ask you this question, and when I'm done, I want you to pause it, and I want you to write the answer down on a piece of paper. This is a self-check. So the volume is pi times 4 squared times 8. What is the value of 4 squared? Okay, I'm going to pause it now. And we're back. Okay, 4 squared. Let's check out. Let's have the big reveal. Let's see what it is. 16. 4 times 4 is 16. If you answered 8, the mistake that you're still doing is you're multiplying the exponent times the base. And that's not true. Okay, it's not 2 times 4. It's 4 times itself twice. If that was 4 to the third, it would be 4 times 4 times 4. And it would be a much larger number than that. But that's where we're at right now. Okay, so 4 squared. Make sure that you have some kind of a habit to check that you did not multiply these two. All right, so let's go ahead. Remember, we're going to give our answer in terms of pi. So we're going to take 8 times 16 pi. So 128 pi feet cubed. That's our answer. What about the exact answer? Well, for the exact answer, we'd substitute 3.14 in for pi, and we'd go ahead and we get 401.92 feet cubed. Now you ask yourself, self-check. What's the answer rounded off to the nearest hundredth, the nearest tenth? Okay, so we have example 5. Solve for the height or the base. We have our same formula, volume equals base times height. But this time we're given a value for the volume, 1,000 cubic centimeters, and the height is 100 centimeters. I'm going to solve for B, for the base. V equals volume equals base times height. Let's divide both sides by height. Notice that we're going to solve for B. We're going to want B by itself. So if we're multiplying by h, we have to unmultiply. So we're going to divide. The opposite of multiplication is division. Okay. Height divided by height is just 1. Anything divided by itself is equal to 1. And we can just drop that. We don't need to write 1. And on this other side, volume divided by height is what we're going to be left with. Just do that. It's 1,000 cubic centimeters divided by 100 centimeters. Okay, 1,000 divided by 100 is 10. And cubic centimeters, centimeters cubed divided by centimeters to the first power, that's just centimeters squared. That's what we expect. So our base is 10 centimeters squared. Okay. If we had to solve for height, is that really a different problem? I mean, we would have divided both sides by base, and we would end up with volume divided by base.